Topping today's news, health officials raised the alarm regarding a possible dengue fever outbreak. One dead after 3 people shot in Baintown, including a 4-year-old. The Teachers Credit Union teaming with the government to make home ownership more affordable. And Anthony gave it her best but could not finish in the medals of the women's 200-meter final in Budapest. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. The Ministry of Health and Wellness looking into the possibility that more cases of dengue fever are in country. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Dowell on Thursday confirmed 16 cases here in the capital. He noted that there is also a suspected case on Abaco awaiting testing, as health officials are on high alert. Flanked by a core team of senior health officers and a representative from the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Dowell carefully outlined the critical need for the public to participate to the fullest extent in preventing an increase in cases, noting that in 2011, the Bahamas experienced a severe outbreak of dengue fever with confirmed positive for serotype 1 and serotype 2. However, the lab confirmation cases now is serotype 3, which he says is of concern. Dr. Dowell said the ministry is coordinating resources to stage assessment and treatment at public clinics to reduce further overwhelming of emergency services at the Princess Margaret Hospital. Again, dengue fever is a viral illness spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Symptoms include headaches, fever, nausea, vomiting, rash, eye pain, muscle, bone, and joint pain. Individuals experiencing fever and 2 or more of these symptoms should see a health care provider. A 25-year-old male of Rupert Dean Lane is the latest murder victim, shot to death last night in a triple shooting just outside of a home on Rupert Dean Lane in Bainstown. Police are investigating this homicide and shooting that also injured a 4-year-old boy and another 25-year-old male. Police reports indicate that sometime around 7:30 p.m. Thursday, the victims were at the front of a home on Rupert Dean Lane and Ferguson Street when occupants of a silver Japanese vehicle exited and opened fire in their direction. Both adult males received multiple gunshot wounds to the upper body, while the juvenile was shot to the left leg. They were all transported to hospital, where one of the adult males succumbed to his injuries. The other is listed in serious condition, the juvenile listed in stable condition. This shooting death, the 3rd since Saturday and the 5th homicide for the week. For the latest killing, police are appealing to members of the public who may have any information to contact 911 or 919, or you can contact the police anonymously at Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS, 328-8477. Following a video that quickly circulated social media on Thursday morning showing convicted sex offender Sidney Cooper being detained and escorted to a police vehicle by a police inspector, police released a statement noting that Mr. Cooper was not under arrest but taken from his home for his own protection. The video alleges that Cooper, who was only just released from prison last Friday and added to the sex offenders registry, was responsible for an incident that occurred Thursday morning in the Coconut Grove area. However, it was not the case, as police are in fact seeking the public's assistance in locating a tall, bald-headed bright male who attempted to abduct a 12-year-old girl. Preliminary reports indicate that shortly before 9 a.m., the child was walking on 4th Street, Coconut Grove, when she was approached by the male who was wearing a blue hooded jacket. Residents, assuming the culprit was Sidney Cooper, converged on his home on 5th Street, the Grove, armed with rocks, bottles, and cutlasses. The police wish to advise the public that the perpetrator involved in this incident is not Sidney Cooper. Police are in search of the suspect and are requesting members of the public to remain vigilant and on high alert. Additionally, if the suspect is seen, please contact the police and do not take matters into your own hands or face criminal charges as well. Meanwhile, police did not say how long Cooper will remain in protective custody. To ease the financial burden for aspiring first-time home owners, on Thursday, the Teachers and Salaried Workers Cooperative Credit Union and the Department of Housing signed a $25 million memorandum of understanding to assist Bahamians in achieving their dream of becoming homeowners. Minister of Housing, Jobeth Kobe Davis, while excited for this milestone, says the agreement is another step for Bahamians to turn their own home keys.
We have worked on this MOU for quite some time. We've had a number of meetings, a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of conversations with the Office of the Attorney General and with our colleagues at Teachers Credit and Salaried Workers Union. And we're here today because we're excited to say that we have finally come to the complete and final approved draft by all parties, and we will be executing it today. And what this means for Bahamians, it's another avenue, it's another option. While the Department of Housing does not dictate to persons who they should choose to do business with when it comes to taking out a mortgage, we try to make sure that there are options and opportunities available to all persons. Some may not be able to get a mortgage from a financial institution because their terms are too high, the interest rates are not comfortable for their financial position. And so we've been working hard to explore options that give them a better avenue to home ownership. And
the Teachers Credit Union's General Manager, Baron Miller, says the mission of the union is to empower individuals and families by providing affordable, accessible housing solutions, thereby fostering sustainable home ownership.
With the launch of this specialized mortgage financing program, this credit union brings its decades of experience and expertise to assist residents in fulfilling their dreams of owning a home in the desired government subdivision. Key features of the credit union's mortgage financing program include competitive interest rates, flexible loan terms, and we work with you, and a streamlined application process. We are thrilled to introduce our mortgage financing program tailored specifically for the Ministry of Housing Homeownership Program.
As for the Family Islands, the same process applies. If you wish to apply, log on to the union's website to register or stop by their office on East Street South. No appointment needed. The taxi driver that went viral for allegedly leaving a group of tourists from Maryland on Junkanoo Beach, even after being paid to render a full day's service, has had his taxi license suspended. Confirming this news is Minister of Transport, Joeth Kobe Davis.
From the road traffic standpoint, the tribunal, I think, suspended the license because there were some other things that were raised during his conversation with the acting controller that advised us that maybe he overcrowded as well. So for those matters, the tribunal had suspended it.
As for whether there will be any other legal action taken against the taxi driver, Mrs. Kobe Davis says that decision will be left to the police.
I think he was taken in for questioning by the police because obviously in that case it would become a criminal matter for the police to investigate. And there wasn't an official complaint, I understand, lodged as yet with the actual authorities. And so I don't know if they've advanced it further. They're still investigating it.
As for code of conduct for taxi drivers, the transport minister says she hopes to have that document completed by the end of the year.
So the code of conduct, we have been working on the complete document, and I spoke to the chair of the Road Traffic Board who advised that they're trying to have that ready for September. But because I wouldn't have control, that's a board, that's a Road Traffic Authority board that has that portfolio. And so I just get the draft and we review it and we discuss. And so hopefully we have that before the end of this year, I would say.
President of the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union, Wesley Ferguson, says a code of conduct will result in better checks and balances and ultimately better service in the taxi industry. And finally, in this segment, as the FTX crypto exchange bankruptcy battle continues, Prime Minister Philip Davis, while speaking at a financial technology or fintech summit this week, said lessons the government learned from the FTX collapse will enable the Bahamas to strengthen its regulatory regime and emerge as a regional digital assets hub. The Prime Minister admitted that the Bahamas has been challenged by the situation, but suggested the experience will serve the country well as it moves to upgrade the digital assets and Registered Exchanges, or DARE Act, which is the core of its digital assets supervisory framework. He said the Bahamas' ability to adapt our regulatory framework to the most stringent global standards makes the Bahamas the ideal jurisdiction for emerging fintech opportunities. Meanwhile, FTX's U.S. Chief John Ray, who represents 134 FTX entities in Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, is once again bashing the Bahamas and the Bahamian liquidators by accusing them of meddling and hindering efforts to return recovered assets to former clients and creditors. In response, in addition to seeking an order that he has breached their cooperation agreement, the Bahamian liquidators also want the Delaware Bankruptcy Court to affirm that Mr. Ray and his team have breached the Chapter 15 recognition and assets freeze previously granted to FTX Digital Markets and themselves. In the coming weeks, Mr. Ray and the Bahamian provisional liquidators are scheduled to attend mediation before retired Judge Judith Fitzgerald. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back.